ensure that welfare can be efficiently delivered, there needs to be a separation between the church and the state. It is essential for this to happen because what? Because first, this is in terms of the government's obligation to be a neutral party. And second of all, what's important that there's a need policy. Is it so important that you use religious organizations to deliver welfare? This is a question that we will answer later on in the debate. Now first, before I move on to my extension, let me provide you with a few point rebuttals. What have been happening from this opening part is that the opening government seems to believe that because of religious organizations taking part in the distribution of delivering welfare, this can result in a harmonious life and social integration between different parts of religions. Well, what will happen is the exact opposite, because there will be segregation between the society, because these different religions will get different amounts of money, and what will happen is that you will create, a certain preference towards religious superiority of thinking that this religion is better just because you give a lot more money compared to this. Now we think that what the whole government here is basing the arguments on is that religious institutions are highly respected. This assumption is actually very false, because even in organizations such as an MOE, they create preposterous fatwas that said, riding motorcycles with other than someone who you're married to is haram, or yoga or smoking is haram. Now, how can you ensure that these respected organizations will be respected throughout the nation and not just in rural areas? Now, the opening opposition has proven to you that this is actually an unpeaceful cause. Now, we're going to take it even further, and we're going to prove to you this is actually not an urgent thing. There is no need to actually implement this motion. And second of all, how this will actually benefit more compared to the cost. Now, what the closing opposition here has said is that the religious organizations, they will not do corruption because they believe in God. They will not do corruption. Well, this is quite a big assumption, because even organizations such as religious organizations, they will have the tendency to do corruption. And in addition to that, we're not just talking about Indonesia here. We're talking about states as a whole. So we think it's unfair for the closing government to take an example just from Indonesia. In addition to that, their example regarding rural areas, this is an exception. And if you are going to rely for the religious institutions to provide funds for the government, this actually proves that the government are not efficient enough to do so. That the government cannot do its job properly, and therefore is actually quite detrimental to the government. And also, regarding their point about how it's their ability to spread values with what the government needs. Well, to spread values does not always have to use religious organizations, especially since they're going to spread values that is according to their religion. That is not just something that the whole majority will believe in, but just according to a particular religion: Islam, Christian, Hindu, Buddha, and so on. Now let me move on to my extension, that is verse 2. Why we believe what is a good policy? First, a good policy has to ensure that the government needs it, and it's urgent that that the religious organizations that we use it to deliver welfare. In addition to that, second of all, the benefit has to outweigh the cost. My extension will prove exactly this, but before I go on.
Number one, we think that once they get this money, they're going to be monitoring and all the assessment coming from the government through the program, whether or not the money comes to the society. If there's something happen, they will be even criminally liable, if they're doing some corruption. They're not even, criminally bounded.
Well, criminally reliable is in every particular instance, whether in the government or in religious organizations, you're going to be criminally liable if you do corruption. But if you add in extra religious organizations to distribute this delivering welfare, we think that this adds bureaucracy, this adds time, this adds even more complexity to just deliver welfare. And we think that the government is actually efficient enough to do so. Now first, the government's obligation is that the government here has to be a neutral party. That means they are the one who the people trust. Because if you just use another religious organization to do this, the trust towards the government will not actually be there. Because what the opening government has said here is that this will not be a shift of burden. But we think that even if this is not a shift of burden, it's still a partial shift of burden. What we think is unfair, because it's the obligation of government to provide welfare for the society. And we think that taking sides and just taking certain religious organizations getting from is not fair, because we think this is the taxpayers' money. Everyone should feel this impact, not certain religious groups, not certain majority religious groups who will get this impact of this money. We think that the welfare should be distributed equally and not just in certain particular religious groups. And second of all, we think that this is not needed at all. We think that the government is actually well enough doing their job. They don't need additional religious organizations to deliver welfare. Well, this regards to the means policy. That is the means versus ends. That means there has to be a compromise to the means and the ends. Yes, we know that we're all striving for delivering welfare to society, but is it the best means? No. We think that delivering welfare through religious organizations is actually they have no obligation to the society, but in fact the government, they have the social contract to do so. They were elected by the citizens to ensure that their welfare will be there. They have no obligation whatsoever to give something back to society, because it's just not their job. It's just their moral obligation, but they have no social contract whatsoever. And we also think that there is a conflict of interest, because religious organizations will want something that will promote their religious values, while the government will want something that is neutral, something that more universal compared to religious organizations. We also think that just giving this money just to a certain particular society actually promotes the segregation between society, which is very harmful. We think that there are certain biases towards certain particular religion, and giving this form of aid to religious organizations just exacerbates this effect. And we think that this is also used by other religions to mean a wrong way to promote religion, because this creates a superiority among the religion. You think that the government will allocate even more funds to certain religions that they think is right. We think that this is not justified to do so, because the government is the one who is supposed to be neutral. Now, with my two arguments, that is, first, it's the government's obligation to be a neutral body, and that they have to be the one who actually help in terms of delivering the welfare, and that this shift of burden, even if it's partial, is still unfair, and that welfare has to be distributed equally. And second of all, how there is a need, that there is no need whatsoever to transfer this burden, how it creates a conflict of interest, how it creates segregation between society. I'm going to be more proud to oppose. Thank you.